All right, hey everyone. Hopefully, everyone has enjoyed their long weekend and the holidays. All right, we know here that we're starting. This is approaching the full first week of July, and we're going to go ahead over some of the top stocks. Either you might want to look at purchasing the shares or playing long haul options on them for the month of July. All right, as you can see, we are already at all-time highs in the market. So the concern when you're at all-time highs is how long will that trend continue until we get a pullback for some set of time and then continue to go higher. Well, we don't know the time when that will occur, but that will occur sometime. But for now, as we are entering into the third quarter, we're going to go ahead and look at some stocks for this month that we think people would want to take in consideration. And also, but before we get into that, why don't we take some time and look and see what is happening in the month of July? So, as far as earnings calls, let's talk about this upcoming week. Right now, this week, we only really have Delta Airlines that we're looking at. That's an airline playing on July 7th. But when you follow up for the week of the 14th, we're going to have our financials, our big hitters. We got BlackRock, we got JP Morgan, we have Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and we even have a couple of tech ones, Taiwan Semiconductor and Netflix. All right, and for the week of July 21st, we have Tesla, Philip Morris, which is the stock that we had, and we sold that at the beginning of this month, and GE Aerospace, General Motors, and IBM. And then the final week of the month, we continue with AMD, Procter and Gamble, Google, Meta, and Microsoft and Qualcomm. So this is a big month. We're going to see a lot of movement in the market in the month of July, and we want to try to take advantage of those as we go into earnings this week. And some of these names that you hear I mentioned for earnings are even some of the stocks that we pick for some of the best to buy. Again, it just going into the earnings, you have this bullish trend throughout June and July into the earnings call. All right, what else is happening? Well, the big thing this week outside of Delta Airlines is really around tariffs. So the 90-day pause that was set back on April 2nd, that's set to expire on July 9th. I think the president has made some announcement about sending out some communication to countries, and I think those dates might even be extended. Uh, The Treasury Secretary confirmed that the tariffs will revert to those levels unless new deals are signed by August 1st. So August 1st, if new deals are not signed by August 1st, then they will revert to the levels that were mentioned before. And I think that's somewhere around 50, 70% that in fact impacts some trade partners such as the EU, India, and Canada. What else is going on? Tariffs have delayed certain rate cuts. That's what Chairman Powell spoke on. Um, Other Fed officials, Michelle Bowman, this month suggested a rate cut should be on the table in July, arguing that tariffs effects are modest. So, there is some calls from certain Fed officials to do rate cuts, and others they're still waiting for some clarity around how these tariffs are going to play out. So, the July 29th and 30th, we do have an FOMC meeting and tariff inflation and impact. So you can be looking out for that at the end of this month. And that's also the big week of some major FANG stocks like Meta and Microsoft are giving their earnings. So be on the watch out for that. All right, so what we talked about so far, we talked about major earning plays and we talked about tariffs. So, all right, so now with that being stated, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the stocks that we're looking at for the month of July. And I'm going to start that off with one of them is going to be AMD, semiconductor stock here. Uh, you see AMD got down, and we're looking at the weekly right now. It's under all the moving averages. It has made its way back around 2 weeks ago, end of June, and now went from 122 and we're up at that 140 level. We got an important level to break right here, and I think that's around 148, 149. And if we get that move, we can probably move it up into 160 this month, right into the earnings call of the last week. Now, do you want to hold that stock going into the earnings, or do you want to get out of it into the earnings mode? That's a choice you made. But AMD is AI driven demand. It has some generative tech tailwinds, position it in the semiconductor sector. There has been some hedge funds doing some trimming. Um, their AMD exposure because this has already had a good run up from its 200 moving average. But despite the rotation, AMD remains integral to the AI infrastructure, and AMD is going to ride the tailwinds of NVIDIA. So if AMD breaks this 146 level, we can make a move all the way up to 160 before earnings. So AMD is one that we're taking a look at. Let's take a look at Intuit. I use this a lot. Intuit has TurboTax and QuickBooks, etc. Uh, Intuit, you can see right now the challenge about a lot of stocks, they're at all-time highs or highs they've been in the past 3 or 4 years. Intuit is one of those stocks. So what we're looking for is to make sure that Intuit can maintain this level of 764. And if so, then we can continue to see Intuit take its trend to the upside. Um, it dominates the small business and consumer tax software category. So that is a good play for that. It also has Fed easing scenarios and pro growth regulatory tailwinds, which support high quality software. And it has strong fundamentals, resilient earnings, and very strong cash flows. So Intuit is one of those stocks, like I said, this is one that we're always looking, hey, if it can stay above this 764, 780, we can probably make a move around $80. Not saying this month, but it continue its positive uptrend. All right, another one is CrowdStrike. Now, CrowdStrike, the move that wanted to catch CrowdStrike around 400 is already moved up $100. If you caught that, you definitely made well on CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is the leading cybersecurity firm. AI has strong earnings and growth projections. And those drivers, of course, is the rising cyber threats, high margin, and a very good SaaS model. Now, again, this is another one of those stocks that's all-time high. So um, these are stocks that you'll continue to try to get into dollar cost average and see if these trends will continue. But the setup is A plus as far as how it looks right now, and CrowdStrike is one of those stocks. The other one, let's take a look at JP Morgan. Now JP Morgan has been a beast and it's been killing it. And even though it has earnings coming up, and I think it was at JP Morgan earnings is set to happen on July 15th. So, and again, JP Morgan's is at highs. It's at this 296 that has been at in the last, in this range. So, if the financial sector is good, so keep an eye on that. I mean, the good time to get in JP Morgan was probably back here at 236. Now it's breaking out at 290, 300. I would nibble on this, but watch JP Morgan after this earnings next week. If it continues, if the financial sector continues to stay strong, JP Morgan and American Express, Capital One Finance continue to do well. All right. It is definitely one of the leading banks. It has a diversified revenue. It had a very good, strong Q1 performance. And that's something to say. It had a good Q1 performance, as well as the tariff and the volatility may weigh on the finance. But when rate cuts come, this is what the stock is doing with no rate cuts. Rate cuts come, JP Morgan's going to continue to do very, very well. All right, let's talk about coin here. Coin has had a very, very good last couple of weeks in the market. It started to cool off a little bit last week, but this rise with Bitcoin. Again, this is probably a good one if it continues, if it has some pullback in this range, say around 340, 346. This is a stock that we can definitely project it on here to get to that 400 range. Got close to 383, 394 the week, but stock is pretty bullish. You can see how they ended the last week. And you know it has a little red here, the hammers to the upside. So we should expect another positive 2 to 3 weeks in coin. This is just off the technicals, but crypto is doing very well. The volumes is rising across the board, and we have stable coins becoming more mainstream in the crypto sector, and therefore Coinbase is. I would definitely do a long call for the 400, probably into the month of August. Um, so, Coin is definitely one of those ones I think is a plus, and you may want to look at. Let's take a look at Avis. Avis has been kicking butt. Um, just had another breakout about 2 weeks ago. Ended the last week very positive with a hammer candle. That I love the hammer. Uh, on the candles. I'm trying to see. Let's go back and look and see if we have any more hammers. And in the week, we have a little one here, but he still was positive. We have one here. There's a hammer, and then you see the next week he had a very good run. So cars is one I'll probably be looking to trade into this week, and we're looking to see if we can get to that 200 and stay around 200 by the end of this month. Um, so we definitely want to keep cars. That's probably one of my number ones. And we definitely like coin as another one. Um, I think travel again. You think about cars again. If the third quarter is really good this summer with travel, then cars will continue to do well. And by the time it reports in this quarter and going into the fourth quarter, it should have some very good earnings. All right, we're gonna check out Celsius Holdings. Here, I give y'all a stock that's maybe not as mainstream as the other ones. Celsius Holdings. Look, the stock was $90 at one time. From a technical level, the setup is really good from a weekly standpoint. As long as these moving averages stay really well above the weekly, what your exit is 42 right now is 46. I'd say about 40. This stock should continue to do well. This might be a buy and hold for the rest of the year until you get back to $70, $80. Hey, that's on stock. If you're able to get 100% gains, you take it. So it's a high growth energy drink. They seem to be doing well. There is some competitors in the landscape, but Celsius is doing really well in the market. And I know my wife likes it. So uh, keep your eyes on Celsius. Uh, let's take a look at Hood. So hopefully I'm giving y'all a good variety of stocks to look at, get some ideas around. Hood has been smashing it. I mean, the best time to buy was probably back in May. Um, and look at it just from a technical standpoint. Weekly crossover here, strength in on the room. The DMI has really went strengthened from the 24 all the way up to the 40 level. Hood has been killing the game. Um, just looking at how this candle ended last week, though, doesn't look like Hood this week will get back up to that 95, 9800 range. It might be a little chop in this if you're just reading the candles. There might be a little chop and flattening out consolidation. So this might be something you want to keep on your radar. Oh, there's a pullback to in the 70 range for any reason. You might want to buy that one. So, but that's probably, and I think that is a good mixture. Trying to see if there's anyone on here else I want to add. No, I think Hood is good. All right, so let's recap. I think just probably one of my number ones as we was talking about this is I think that I like going target up there to almost 400. JP Morgan, again, we may only have 2 weeks to play this one, um, but if earnings goes well, I think JP Morgan continue to do well. I like Carr. I think The way it ended last week is really strong. I like these weekly hammer candles. I really like. That's a good one for me to just put an option in, maybe up to, and let that ride out until we get to 200. Buy the contract to expire in August and take profit. So I definitely like cars. I like J.P. Morgan, AMD. We got it clear that we're trying to get to 160 by the end of this month. I think we'll do that. But AMD is definitely one I really, really like. Into it. Um, we know where our support levels are clearly into it. It's right here around 763, 770 range. And I think we're on our way to continue to go up. Let's look at CrowdStrike. Again, some of these are all-time highs, but I love when the stock ends on a hammer again on Crowd. You see that? So, and then I already talked about JP Morgan and corn. All right. Well, I hope this list has been helpful for you to go into July to finish out strong. Got some ideas. Again, I think the ones I mentioned, Crowd, Coin, AMD, JP Morgan, Intuit. You see some really, really good setups. All right. I know I've been going for a minute. We've been busy revamping some things, but uh, the month of July, we're back in the game and we're going to knock it out the park. This is a money making month. We got tech on deck, financials on deck next week, and a lot of good stocks that are going to be shaking and baking and moving. And so we're going to go get that money. All right. Hopefully this video has been helpful. If it has, please like and subscribe, and I'll check you out in the next one. Be blessed.